I'm Tisha.
I'm Loren.
And this is the Open Booked Podcast. Today we are talking about Colleen Hoover's Hopeless series. So there are 5 books in this series, 3 full-length books, and then 2 novellas.
So, one question, this may be dumb of me, is a novella just because it's shorter?
I think so. I think it's just like a baby novel.
Got it, because I was looking at, obviously, the reading order. I'd already read them all, and I was like, why is this one a novella and this one not? So, makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like, especially in this series, they're kind of just really long epilogues that were made into new books.
I agree.
Before we kind of dive into anything, I do want to add a trigger warning. These books talk about some pretty dark subject matter, like rape. It doesn't say it outright, but that's definitely what it was. Also, suicide. I feel like there are more, but I can't remember what all they were.
Kidnapping for sure.
Oh yeah, kidnapping. I think that was it. Oh, sexual assault.
Yeah, I think
which
that covers them all.
Rape. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't think to do that in the last one, but I think it's definitely worth mentioning for anyone who hasn't read it or doesn't intend to read it, but still wants to watch the episode. I think it's important.
Yeah, and maybe infertility.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
for these,
that could be a trigger.
For sure. Worth mentioning. Do we want to discuss some business before we get into the 5 books we're covering today?
Yeah. Well, first we had our first book club meeting today. That was fun. It was just 3 of us today, but a lot of that was just people were busy or out of town, but they definitely want to attend in the future. So I think it'll be fun when we are able to have just a few more people to add to the discussion.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And I think Onyx, we went to the Onyx HQ in downtown Rogers. I think it was a great vibe. Hopefully they will allow us to meet there as we grow. So I think for now, that's the plan. And hopefully we grow so big we have to rent a library room or something, but we'll take it week or month by month, I guess. And we found out this week that our book club pick is actually going to be turned into a Netflix. I don't know if it's a series or a movie.
Yeah.
And they started production, and the leading guy is Pierce Brosnan. So it's got to be good. It's exciting.
Yeah, I think since the books are a series, I would assume it's going to be like a series, kind of like you.
Yeah, for sure. In addition to the book club, we also have a giveaway still going on.
Yes.
So our giveaway is Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us special edition, and then a bookmark and a sticker from the Bookworm box, and a reading journal.
Yeah.
I have the book right here. You guys can see what it looks like. Special edition for the movie. I'm surprised I haven't done an edition with Blake Lively on the cover. The picture for their socials is now Blake Lively, I think with flowers in her hair or something.
I think.
But this is the collector's edition.
I think I saw somewhere that Atria, which is her publishing house, is going to do another reprint of the book with that new cover.
Fun. I'm sure I'll get that when it becomes available.
Yeah, I've seen so many trailers, different trailers. Some of them are really similar, and then some have just a little bit more that we haven't seen yet, and I'm getting so excited. I'm ready for the movie.
Yes, we are so close.
Yes. Let me check my countdown. See what it is. It'll be 21 days when this episode airs on Friday.
Exactly 3 weeks.
I'm so excited.
Yes. We're still, anybody in Northwest Arkansas, we are going to get a little gang together to go watch it. So if you want to join us, you are more than welcome. Just let us know. Yeah. She's got alerts on her phone.
As soon as tickets go on sale.
Yeah. So TBD. We're looking at going to the Rogers town. There's multiple movie theaters in Rogers. Town is superior.
Yes.
If you disagree, I will fight you because town is superior.
Yes, the reclining chairs make the experience so much better. I mean, maybe Fayetteville, the IMAX might be a little bit better, but I don't think so, just because I have to drive an hour to go.
100%. I may be partial to town because it's 10 minutes from my house, but it also has food, drinks, bar drinks, and they are just much less crowded than the one at the mall, even though it's literally 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
It's insane how close they are, but it is much less crowded and has better seats, so no brainer. But in addition to that giveaway, we are going to have another one previewing a little bit, more to come. But when we hit 2,000 followers on Instagram, we'll be giving away some more fun things, bookish things. Spoiler alert, might have something to do with It Ends With Us. You'll have to follow us and keep up to find out.
Yeah. Make sure you're following our socials to be the first to see that and get entered. Have you seen anything interesting on social media, TikTok, this week?
I mean, apart from the obvious that happened yesterday with the attempted assassination, right before that, all the book pages and my TikTok and everything was flooded with My Lady Jane. I don't know if you have seen all of the TikToks and such for that.
I haven't.
I used to be the person that could watch a season in a day because I had free time. I am no longer that person, but I did in this instance. So good. And then at the end, I found out it was a book. So, adding that to the TBR. But it's basically a spin on, King Henry VIII that, had all the 8 wives and killed half of them.
Yeah.
That guy. So this is, right after he died. Okay, so he died and this little brother became king in real history. Mm-hmm. And then for 9 days, the cousin was queen, Jane, and Jane Grey. And she made it 9 days, and then they beheaded her. So this is like a take on if that didn't happen and she stayed queen. Okay. And then they also add some magical elements, but the way the narrator talks is very modern. They literally say, fuck that, and just, very, very modern stuff. I absolutely loved it. I'm sure it's not going to be for everyone, but I see what all the hype is about the book girlies loving this show. Highly recommend. Go watch it.
Okay.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay. I'll add that to my watch list too.
And I do not have a promo code. They are not sponsoring me. I just really liked it. What about you? Anything interesting to note?
I don't think so. I did see, kind of shocking, Richard Simmons passed away yesterday. That was really sad. And then Shannon Doherty, she was in Charmed and Beverly Hills 90210. So RIP to them. That's really sad because they're both, I think Richard was older, but Shannon Doherty was, I think, in her 50s. It's crazy that they just both passed away in the last 24 hours, basically.
I feel like those are both 80s and 90s icons, right?
For sure.
Insane.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think we're ready to jump into Hopeless. We have 5 books to cover,
yes.
So a lot of ground. We're going to hit a little bit of each book, and then at the end give our thoughts on the whole series. Mm-hmm. But at this point in time, if you have not read Hopeless, Losing Hope, Finding Cinderella, All Your Perfects, and Finding Perfect, pause, go read them, and come back. Yeah, we want you to come back, but you just got to go away right now. Unless you don't care about spoilers, because we're going to get into it. So It's going to get spoiled if you stay.
Yes.
Now, the proper reading order for these books, per the website, is Hopeless, Losing Hope, Finding Cinderella, All Your Perfects, and Finding Perfect. So that's the order that I put the discussion topics in today. So that's the order that we are going to discuss them. I think there's other ways that you could read it, but that is the recommended proper way to read. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's how I read them initially because I saw the graphic on her website, and I could see how you could take All Your Perfects just out of it completely, but it just adds depth to the storyline. It's really nice, and I think it made it more relatable for some adults. I think it's also, I think this whole series is rated young adult, but
disagree.
I strongly disagree because there's a lot of, especially All Your Perfects, it made me think a lot of Verity, in the way that it started, and just the adult sexual nature of it. I was just like, this is not young adult, but okay.
Yeah, and there's a part of me that will argue that I'm not a parent, so I mean, you are, so you might have a different perspective, but I would argue that any of Colleen Hoover's books really shouldn't be consumed by teenagers, and I say this loving her. She like almost encourages serious relationships to the point of like having babies, spoiler alert, and like super grown up things at very young ages. And I think I've talked about this in a different way when we were talking about other books that we've covered so far, is that all of her characters are so grown up for their ages. I feel like the maturity that she's writing these people are 20s, 30s, and in the books they're like 17, 19. I just don't think that a lot of that's very realistic. So in my head, I always imagine them older, especially when we get into, I mean, Hopeless. I mean, all of these books, really, I could make this argument besides All Your Perfects. And I will say, the first time that I read these, I read All Your Perfects long before I read the Hopeless, like the rest of the Hopeless series.
Okay.
And I didn't know they went all together. So then it clicked for me when I finished the other four. But I did not know that it was part of that, to be honest. So it definitely could be read as a standalone. You might have questions at the end, but it definitely could be read as a standalone. You want to dive into Hopeless?
Let's go for it.
So I did it a little different this week as I was rereading. I made some notes, and then I also like go through social media and see kind of hot takes and other people's opinions, because I think it's worth discussing if we agree, disagree. Hopeless, the first thing I personally noted was the letters and dollar bills that were always placed in Sky's locker, and how she was so indifferent to it. And I just personally could not imagine the bullying that she was having, and like being so indifferent to the point that she was like, thanks for the money. Like, you know, how cool she was about it. I just thought that was worth noting.
Tell your daddy thanks for the money.
Yes. I thought it was funny, but also kind of notes the maturity. Maybe it's just because of the sheltered life she had, but worth thinking about for sure.
And I almost think it's just like a jealousy thing. Like, she's the new kid in school. Most people don't know her. So they just try to find a way to bring her down. Like, she can't be popular because she's new. She can't be coveted by anyone because she's a slut. And it's like, she's not really even a slut.
Yeah, like, that's just the narrative that they've painted her.
Yeah.
And that's sad because it's really realistic. That's what sucks about that. But, and the thing that kind of I wanted to say was, she did nothing to like make them think differently. And I feel like even as a almost 30-year-old adult, if that was the narrative about me, I would be arguing it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, like I said, the indifference, but also that like she just doesn't even care to set the record straight. She's just like, they can think whatever they want. Even the guy she's like, I don't know, all crushing on.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
Yeah. I think so.
I was going to say falling for, literally.
Yeah.
She fainted.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about Holder that he like instantly felt this need to be protective of her.
Which kind of, my first read was a red flag which I think this is something I'm going down in my other notes, was about his mood swings. Like, he seems controlling. I mean, first read. Second read, I know. So I think of things differently. You always get a new perspective once you know how it ends.
Yeah.
But first read, I was like, okay, who is this guy? And why is he so moody? And why is he like, I thought he was like obsessed with her, was the vibe I kind of got.
Yeah, I could see that.
What were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I was just really confused. Why are you obsessed with her? Why are you so concerned with what other people think about her? You don't know this girl from Eve, and why does it matter to you? I get trying to like take the stuff off of her locker and just address it with people, but just find another way. Like, I don't know, get to know her and then maybe like show these other character traits instead of just kind of perpetuating that idea that she's a slut.
Yeah. What was your initial theory on who Hope was? Like when he slipped up and said, "I love you, Hope." Like
Yeah.
what was going through your head? Like ex-girlfriend, or did you figure it out?
I was thinking ex-girlfriend, kind of like she did. Like, I thought you said you hadn't really been in serious relationships, and now you're saying you love someone? Like, what?
Yeah. After like they made up that word like loving, like live,
Live, yeah.
like the little I'm like, wait, so he's going to drop the real L word and say the wrong name?
Yeah.
But it also kind of made me think he was a player.
Mm-hmm. I can see that, yeah.
Maybe not like ex-girlfriend, but like he's got a side bitch.
I could see that.
Or she's the side bitch. I don't know. But that was my first thought.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, but I will say this book, it had another CoHo attention getter. So you know getting into this point that Sky is pissed off at him because the book starts with a dramatic scene.
Oh,
so
yeah.
the whole time I kind of go back to how books start. And I'm like, okay, because sometimes they do that and then they bounce like 30 days earlier or something like that. So we know that they become close enough that there's some dramatic scene where she loses her mind, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of would go back to that through the mood swings and like the slip up and everything and think, okay, there's something else here that I'm missing. Like that was my thought. Like I'm not picking up what she's putting down.
Yeah.
But then the connection worth noting, Princess. When she hated being called Princess and she had no idea why. And then when shit hits the fan, she goes back to her house and her dad recognizes her immediately and calls her Princess.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump through the book and beat the shit out of him.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I was like, oh, this motherfucker.
Yeah. So what was going through your head when there was like the whole big reveal, her memories came back? You saw her socials, you saw the video that Tisha made. I'm guessing that's how you felt, but what were you thinking?
Oh yeah, I sobbed because I think maybe on too deep of a level I can relate to like blocking out traumatic things and then realizing later, completely out of the blue, like something happens and you're like, holy shit, that's why I avoid this, or I don't like this word or whatever. Like, holy shit. I was like, wow, that's so freaking sad and depressing and just all of the emotions. I was just, I don't want to say devastated because that should be reserved for moms who've lost their child, but it's so devastating. That's so sad.
Yeah, and I think classic Colleen Hoover, super deep emotions, traumatic experiences, very well portrayed throughout books that people who have gone through things like that can relate to. I think she's really good at doing that. So what were your thoughts on Karen? I had an emotional roller coaster of she's kind of strict, kind of weird, hate, love. I don't know. It went everywhere. Where were you at?
Similar. I thought it was so weird that she wouldn't allow her to have a phone, wouldn't allow her to watch TV, wouldn't allow her to have like a computer. Like, I think anytime past roughly 2005, 2007, it's almost a necessity to have a home computer so that you can do schoolwork. And the fact that she was homeschooling and like so many red flags. And I was just like, what the fuck is this bitch hiding? Like,
yeah, but then she treats her so well.
Yeah, like it's almost like they're friends and they have a good relationship. Like the way that she says, "Don't get pregnant this weekend." I was like, that sounds like a Lorelai Gilmore comment.
Yeah.
Like, and then I don't know. She just seemed so laxed with Sky, but then like it was almost like two personalities came to one.
I agree.
And it was kind of uncomfortable and awkward.
I agree with that. And at the end, I ended up thinking so highly of her. Like, genuinely was like, I regret and hate myself for hating her. because she uprooted her and she's young, obviously. Holder makes that comment a couple of times.
Yeah.
And obviously he's putting pieces together in his own head, but again, she changed her entire life, risked herself, prison, like so much just to save her. It's like I said, I feel very guilty once I found out the whole big picture.
Yeah, and I can't imagine, like, you feel like you're okay after experiencing something like that at the hands of a family member, and you're just shopping in a grocery store one day and you hear that voice and you're immediately brought back to all of that trauma, and then you have to see him with a child and you're like, hell no. Like, I can see how broken she is and I'm not going to let that continue. And I'm sure it was like the next day when she went back and she was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not going to let her get hurt anymore.
Yeah.
And sensitive comment about to come out of my mouth. The last thing I will say about this book is good riddance to that fucking piece of shit dad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly got the easy way out.
Yeah.
Coward. Yep.
Yeah, so when Holder's talking about Les and people are like, oh, she took the easy way out, and he's like, no, that was the strongest moment that she could have had to decide that she couldn't do it any longer. And I mean, he kind of goes back and forth on that. Like, he does resent her and he hates that she did it, but also especially later on when he learns why she did it and how much she dealt with and how hard she tried every day to just keep going. And then this motherfucker wants to lie and be like, oh no, you were the only. And then he's like, well, actually, I did it to my sister too. And then he's like, but that was it.
Once.
Yeah, once, but that was it. And then they're like, no, seriously. And he's like, okay, well, actually, it was just the three. And then he's like, oh my gosh. And then the way he just takes the coward's way out just so quickly, and then has the nerve to also like radio it and be like, whatever address, officer down. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I am glad it worked out to where it was just obviously a suicide, because I'm like, the last thing these two kids need is to go through some more shit because he's a piece of shit. I mean, he's the root of all of these problems that they are both dealing with. Yeah, so like, I'm glad that she wrote it to be done at that point.
Yeah. They
both needed to start moving on and healing. So that was a good wrap up, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think it would have been like a major slap to the face if it hadn't worked. Like, if he had just been severely traumatically injured, and then there's like all of this news and drama around them, like trying to find out why he did it or what happened. And then like, it would have been just way too much for anybody.
Yeah, for sure. Any other thoughts on Hopeless before we move on to Losing Hope?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, Losing Hope, second book, Holder's point of view. So what were your thoughts on hearing everything from his side?
I think it gives you obviously more perspective to see why he did what he did, like the freak out that he had in the lunchroom about her bracelet. He's like, where did you get the bracelet? I've already put it out of my mind that this is Hope. Like, I don't want her to be Hope. I don't want any of this to happen for her. Like, I don't want the news to show back up, and I don't want Karen to go to jail, and I don't want all of these things. Like, where did you get the bracelet? Please tell me you just found it at the thrift store, or somebody like bought it for you or something. Like, this, you cannot be Hope in this moment. Please, just any other reason that you have this bracelet.
Yeah. I think it does help you like him more.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the first book, and near the end, you're like over all those mood swings, but hearing like what he's going through definitely, and knowing like he's still grieving his sister, and emotions are all over the place, and then falling in love. I mean, he's got a lot going on emotionally.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely helps like tie things up. To be honest, I am not the biggest fan. Hot take. I'm not the biggest fan of a repeat from a different point of view. I know. But I feel like this one was helpful, but at the same time, I'm just not the biggest fan of that. I feel like I already know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like that's just. But again, this one was helpful because you do learn more things, like the letters that he wrote to his sister.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the letters? I feel like that was a big piece in this.
It was. It was him working through her death and working through just being a teenage boy, falling in love, and then the way he says, "I found her." Like I found hope after all this time. But I thought it was kind of ick the way. So he found the book, and then her friend comes over to like get a picture for something, and then they end up sleeping together. And she has a boyfriend, and I'm just like, why?
Yes, that gave me super ick.
Why? Yeah, what the fuck? Who does that in their grief? Like
some people apparently.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that made me want to throw up. Yeah. To be honest, but I guess Colleen Hoover thought it was important for the storyline. So, whatever Queen says.
Yeah, and like it doesn't even add to the storyline. Like that's the thing, is it was just so random that she showed up and they had sex, and then like later on they kind of revisit it, and he's like, I'm not going to tell him. If you want to tell him, that's good for you. Like we'll confront it then, but like it's our secret and it's okay. Like we both know it didn't mean anything. We were just trying to recover somehow. I don't know. It was just so fucking weird, and it was really icky.
Yeah, I agree that it doesn't really pertain to the storyline, but I'm trying to play devil's advocate here because I like to do that sometimes. And I'm thinking it's just showing Holder's emotional turmoil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the only thing I can figure, because, I mean, this goes back to the balls comment about the baby. It didn't need to happen, and it gave people the ick, but Colleen Hoover thought that it needed to happen, apparently.
Yeah.
So.
And since you brought it up, there's another one in this freaking series, and I was like, there is. Are you fucking kidding me with the salty balls? Why? Just why?
That was in, is it Finding Cinderella or Finding Perfect?
Both.
Both. Okay, yeah. She apparently got a ball fetish. I'm just kidding, I don't know. But it's enough that it's weird. It's enough that it's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, moving on. I know, I was reading the TikToks about this. Like, watching the TikToks, making these notes, and I was like, people were bringing it up again. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Ugh.
Let's get deep.
Okay.
What about the moment that Holder discovered Les's body?
I can't imagine. Not only is it your sister, it's your twin sister, which you already have a deeper connection with. Like, it's been proven time and time again. Twins have a deeper bond mentally, emotionally, physically, like all of the things. I think it was odd that he didn't sense anything before going in there. But then, like, the way he described having to tell his mom afterward, that was awful.
Yeah. And I will say that I felt like was impactful in having a repeat book. That scene obviously doesn't get depicted, described, or anything in Hopeless. So I feel like it helps you understand Holder as a person, like actually what he went through to be that broody, moody teenager from the first book. Anything else to add to Losing Hope before we move on to Daniel and Sit?
I thought the way that it kind of ended in both of them, where they're talking about the conversation that they had when they were little, and I think they were 5, and she's crying, and he's like, he won't live forever. And then he like lays down, and it might be 2 different instances. That was the day that she got taken, but I think previously they had another interaction where he's like laying in the grass just looking up at the sky, And she's like, I want to lay down and look at the sky too. And he's like, I love the sky. It's my favorite thing. And even when it's raining, it's beautiful. And I think that was very key in why she chose the name Sky. Like she
100%.
She loved it. And I think for both of them to have that like aha moment of why she chose that name was really sweet.
I agree. Yeah. Fate, soulmate kind of stuff. Okay. Finding Cinderella. Mm-hmm. This was a smaller book. I feel like a quicker read.
Yeah.
Overall, general thoughts on Six and Daniel, their interactions.
It was cute. It was sweet. And it was just a lot of like kismet moments. Like he's telling her bye and she like fist bumps him and he's like, and then later he tells Holder, he's like, she fist bumped me. Like, how could I not fall in love with her?
Yeah. I think the humor in this one is different than the other two.
Yeah.
It kind of styles a little different, and I think their relationship is funny.
Yeah.
Daniel is just, I like Daniel more than Holder. I just think he's funnier.
Yeah. He reminds me of just a very typical teenage boy, like says stupid shit, that does stupid shit, and just, I don't know, fun to be around. Like,
yeah. But his heart is definitely in the right place always. I feel like he has a huge heart. And huge personality. That's my next note, is both of them just have ginormous personalities. Like, to change your name to Six because your parents named you Seven just to piss them off, legendary.
Yeah, because like they're moving, and she's like, I don't want to. No, so I'm gonna change my name. I'm gonna start going by Six.
Yes. Yeah, like I think one thing worth noting too is Colleen Hoover does a great job writing kids. Like all the kids she writes are like precious or hilarious, and like DM is a great example from Reminders of Him. Mm-hmm. Hilarious. And I feel like even writing, like she's writing all of them younger in the previous two books, she writes them like very precious. Mm-hmm. So maybe I'm just not around kids and that's how kids are, but
yeah, pretty much. I'm sure a lot of that came from her own children, and she's like, these fucking weirdos.
But my favorite thing about this book is Daniel and Holder's bromance.
Yes, he's like, I love you, Holder.
Yeah.
He's like, I love you too, bro.
Yeah. No, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anything else my thoughts were definitely the personalities, the humor, the bromance. What were your favorite moments of this book? Big takeaways.
My favorite moment was pretty early on when he is about to take Six on their first date, and he asks Chunk, his little sister,
Chunk, I love Chunk.
How do I look? And she's like, fine, but if you're taking Val out, like, she's not gonna like that. And his mom's like, yeah, I know Val, and she's not gonna like those shoes with that outfit or whatever. And he's like, it's not Val, okay? And they're like, oh, thank God. Thank God. That he's like, I thought you liked her. And they're like, no, that's called reverse psychology. And we knew that if we said we hated her, it would just make her that much more appealing to you. So that's that.
Yes. I think Chunk is another one of those quintessential CoHo side characters.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And then he's like, I'm never bringing another girl around you guys. And they're like, we already love her. She's a sweetheart. And then his dad's like, she's a keeper.
Yeah, that is really cute. The family's very cool, for sure.
Yeah. And then I think another funny moment was when he's like, I always like to think of what would MacGyver do. So they kind of make their whole first date about that, like sneaking to the car so that they're not seen by Sky and Holder, and climbing in the window.
Yes, the window. Just so extra, but they're never going to forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really sweet. And then
for sure,
all of the nicknames that Daniel gives everybody. I'm just like, where did you even come up with that?
Daniel is the king of nicknames. Colleen Hoover's the queen of nicknames.
Yeah.
Every book, the book boyfriend gives the girl a nickname.
And one thing I really liked about Daniel's family was just how involved they are. Like they're all very involved in each other's lives. Like the way his dad's like, oh, we know you haven't had sex because every time you go on a date, he comes home and takes a 30-minute shower. And Chunk's like, I thought being clean would be a good thing. Why is that embarrassing? And she's like, oh my God.
Yes. That is hilarious.
He's like, I hate all of you.
Yeah, that is a great example of like an open but healthy, good family, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that, so you just brought it up. Hilarious.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, goodness. Okay, did you have it... Were you, like, surprised by this revelation of the whole closet thing at all? I really wasn't.
No, I felt like at the beginning, like the way he talked about it, and then all of the pieces just kind of clicked, and I was like, oh, how long is it going to take him to figure it out now? Like,
yeah. And this is one of those instances where I get annoyed at miscommunications or not communicating or not putting shit together, where I'm like, dude.
Yeah, you could have figured this out so long ago if you just fucking pay attention or ask questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Hey, any last thoughts on Finding Cinderella before we move on to All Your Perfects?
I was really kind of confused as soon as he realized it, and he's like, you know, I haven't given you a nickname yet. And she's like, why? He said, because I did a long time ago, Cinderella. And she's like, no. And then freaks out. And I'm like, what the hell? What? You should be happy that you found the guy so it doesn't add to your body count and like all these things. Why are you sad? And then when she has to tell him about it, I thought that was like...
Yeah, it makes sense as to why she freaked out. But I agree. I was like, finally!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was really sad.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, All Your Perfects. This one was, like I said, the first time I read it before Hopeless and completely by itself. Say another pretty strong start to a book.
Yeah, I mean, I knew, going into it, like, okay, she does these big grabs for your attention and then kind of works everything out through the story. But I was just like, what the hell? Why is there somebody just sitting at the doorway? And then they discover they are both being cheated on with the people behind that door.
Nothing like bonding. Bonding over mutual getting cheated on.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious that they stole their Chinese.
Oh, yes. That was just a cute little detail.
Yeah.
I would have done the same shit.
Oh, for sure.
I'm still a lot more than the Chinese. But,
yeah,
that was hilarious. Okay, so this is a very emotional, heavy novel. I feel like it's almost insta-love. Tell me if you disagree.
I think for him it was.
Yeah.
Not so much her. Like, she was like, okay, like, yeah, you're hot, but I don't want really anything to do with you because it's probably just going to make me think about the guy that cheated on me.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, so she just tries to go on about her life, and she's like, whatever. Bye. Have a good life.
We talked about this in the last novel, but did the non-communication drive you absolutely insane in this one like it did me? I'm just like, bro, talk to her. Girl, talk to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop fucking pouting around and shit and looking at him through the window and fucking talk to him.
Yeah.
And him, like, when he did the thing, I'm like, oh my god, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
But obviously they're both going through a lot. Priorities were, I can't even imagine, and I think they just got wrapped up in non-communicating, and...
Yeah, that takes a big emotional toll. Both the infertility that they struggle with, but also like her trying to hide her hurt and her pain, and him trying to as well separately. So they're both really just hiding from each other like all the time. Like, and it's a hard kind of moment to be like, okay, we're giving up hope. Like that was one of the quotes that I made note of was Quinn says she's losing faith, losing interest, and losing hope. And I was like, aha, I see what you're doing there. I see it now. Yeah.
Sneaky. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I think this book is, again, an emotional roller coaster for how it starts. You're kind of laughing, but you're sad. And then, watching them fall in love and having this, like, super cool relationship that turns into not communicating, infertility issues. Walking on eggshells around each other was, like, the phrase that kept popping into my head. Like, that's what I felt like they were doing.
Yeah.
Instead of just talking about how they felt. I think they both felt like they needed to be strong for the other person. Maybe that's just the way I interpreted it. But instead of just both being vulnerable with each other, they just were tearing themselves apart by this tough hide how I feel from you, you hide how you feel from me. Ultimately ends up in a little bit of a cheating scandal.
Yeah.
Which both of them had been through, and that was like the thing they didn't want. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that just is an example of how far off track they got from where they started. Yeah. Because of everything they've been through.
Yeah. And I think it was worth noting when he said sometimes situations don't have a positive side. They just have a whole lot of sad sides. And I think that really kind of made the most sense. Like, there are things beyond your control that just suck.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of accept it, process it, and then try to move forward from there. Like you can't just fix it or find a silver lining. Like it just really sucks.
Yeah, their situation's just impossible. And I think in their heads, well, maybe Quinn's head, more trying to, for a while, make it work instead of, okay, it doesn't work, how do we move on? If that makes sense. I was having a hard time putting my thought into words, but I feel like instead of, okay, let's move forward, let's go with plan B, it was, we stick to this same plan that's not working.
Yeah, it's like how many times can you try the same thing and fail at it and realize, shit, maybe we need to take a different path.
Right, like there's other options, and I think it had to get to the ultimate end before she considered that. Yeah. That's just the way I took it. Let me know what you think, but I think it had to get very extreme for her to start thinking of plan Bs and other options.
And I mean, I can relate to having infertility myself. Like the hope makes you want to avoid certain things and makes you want to like not think about it or not try to get your hopes up. But it's like at some point you have to kind of face the mirror and be like, okay, I'm doing this to myself and I have to, as hard as it is, I know everybody says, oh, just forget about it or stop trying and it'll just happen or, whatever. But it's like, no, these are things that are ingrained in your core that you want as a person. And when you can't make that happen, it's really hard to let go of. But I think that's where she should have been like, okay, how can I try to find a way around this? Because adoption and IVF and all of these things aren't options. Like I need to see a therapist and I need to talk through it and figure out how I can be okay just being a wife or just being a dog mom or, whatever I am now, rather than feeling empty and alone in this everything, this relationship, this life.
Right. And I think they both felt alone with it in their marriage. I think that's what it boiled down to at the end with the struggles. Well, not the end, at the max of the issues. What a way to put that. When the issues came to a head, that's what I'm trying to say. that it ultimately they both felt alone. I think this is a great book that shows like real life struggles and is an example of how to work through things, you know, because ultimately at the end of the book, things are great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think another freaking car accident is what prevented them from being able to adopt, because he had criminal charges, and that is just like a big red flag. So it's like he had the double guilt of like, he's not infertile. It's something that she is unable to do, like of no fault of her own, but they can't find a better solution like adoption because of this decision when he was a teenager. Like it wasn't even his fault, but because there was alcohol in his system, they weren't able to adopt. And that like he just had that double guilt of like he can't give her what she wants, and he felt like he wasn't enough because of it.
Yeah.
Like when he tells his sister, like it devastates me that I can't have a child, and she takes that as like, oh well, I'm the reason you can't be a dad. And he's like, no, it devastates me for you. So again, that communication would have just solved a shit ton of problems, but people want to skirt around the issue and not address it.
For sure. That part I was like boiling.
Yeah.
Any other last thoughts on All Your Perfects before we wrap this up in a bow with finding?
In this is where I kind of like when Ava's talking to them and she's like, oh, I've got this exchange student named Six that like ties everything together. It kind of inserts them into the timeline. This is where I started to notice the timeline inconsistency. I was like, wait a minute. So this is your 10th anniversary. So you've been together for 12 years. But when we get into the next book, like the whole timeline does not match up. So I'm just like the whole time I'm reading or Finding Perfect, I'm like trying to go back to the other two books. And I'm like, okay, how did this all line up? And it doesn't. So
no,
it pissed me off.
Yeah, I think going into Finding Perfect, it was like, I think you said this earlier, it's like a bunch of epilogues. And in my head, I just pictured she was like, oh, we can add this in, we can add this in. And that's how it ended up being the way that it was. That I may be completely off base, but that's the vibe that I got.
Yeah, it's very messy as far as the time
kind of
goes.
like too late.
Yeah.
You could just tell it was just, she even said she added to it 27 times or something like that.
Yeah.
But we ready to jump into Finding Perfect?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, last Finding Perfect. This one was pretty quick read as well.
Oh yeah.
I thought. What was it, like less than 100, like 100 pages? It was like super short.
Yeah, I think it's 82 pages.
So it starts off with like the distance between Six and Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the length Daniel goes to try to fix that?
I think it's really sweet and says a lot about his heart that he feels like she's going to break up with him, and he's like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Like goes to his sister, and that he doesn't like, they have a relationship, but she's gone at school, so it's not like a consistent or like super close relationship right now. So he's like, what the fuck do I do? Like she's like, have you tried talking to her? Like communication.
Let's always just make this the rule. Start by having a fucking conversation.
Yeah. But I think the way he did it, and then she jumps in. She like, okay, well, have you done this? Have you guys tried this? Have you done all the things? And he's like, I didn't want to like step on her toes. I didn't want to get answers if she didn't want them. Like I didn't want it to be too much for her. So then they have the conversation, and she's like, it just hurts all the time. Like I just want to know that he's okay. I just want to know he's healthy and happy. And I did it to protect everybody so that nothing could happen, and like I wouldn't change my mind, but I just want to know now.
Yeah, she needs some sort of closure. I think the not knowing is what's really eating her alive, literally.
Yeah, it's the hardest part in a lot of situations where you see this big event and then you just are expected to go about your life like nothing ever happened. It's like, but I want to know.
Yeah. You need more. You need answers.
Yeah.
So ultimately, like we said, this book very short, not a ton to cover. But did you feel when you finished this book, besides the timeline inconsistencies, that all of your pending questions were answered? You felt fulfilled with the series, or was there anything you needed more of or missed?
No, I think wrapped up pretty well. Like the way he was able to find them. And I love the fact that Quinn emailed back and was like, I've written so many letters that I never thought I would send because I don't even have your information. And she's like, I reached out to my lawyer last week and was like, I want to try and open that line of communication. I thought that was really sweet and kind of tied in her character too, to just be like, I can't imagine the sacrifice that woman made and I'm so grateful for her, but also I want to have that relationship with her and I want her to know that she did the most selfless thing you can do and she gave me joy and love and hope again. So I thought that was really sweet.
I did too. I feel like it perfectly wrapped up all of the books. My overall thoughts, comments here. I kind of thought Finding Cinderella and Finding Perfect could have been wrapped into one book, but I understand why she split it with all your perfects so that you like meet the couple first. But with how short they both were and being like the same main characters, thought it maybe could have been one book, but again, understand why she didn't.
Yeah, I could definitely see it being all in one, but I think just the kind of neatness of the way it was all tied up, I think that was just kind of an added afterthought, because initially the series was only the three: Hopeless, Losing Hope, and then Finding Cinderella. So I think it would have been just like so weird to just end it there.
100%.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, they live happily ever after or no? Like,
question mark.
These are all teenagers about to go to college. This is weird.
Yeah, for sure. Any other thoughts overall across the series or any of the books?
I think in Finding Perfect, it was the sweetest thing when Daniel is on the phone with Graham. Graham calls him and he's like, I didn't want, he's like, I don't know. I'll have to talk to her and see what she wants to do. And then Daniel is like, I just want her to feel whole again. She feels this big emptiness in her and she just wants to know that her baby is healthy and happy and safe. And like Graham kind of says that later, he's like, I was ready to tell you just kick rocks, and you really reminded me of me, like of just wanting the love of your life to be happy and whole again, because there's this piece missing.
Yeah, I do think that was an important detail, because I think Daniel was kind of unhinged, to be honest with you, at this time. And Graham is like the older, wiser, like father figure almost, or like maybe big brother.
Yeah.
That helps them ultimately get the closure. But yeah, I agree. I think that was a cool moment.
Yeah, and then again, gotta mention the freaking salty balls. Like, why? Like, even at the end, she's like, I'm so glad you didn't like give him a nickname and call him Salty Balls. And he's like, we've still got a week that we're gonna be here. And I'm like, oh, stop it.
So I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that there is some sort of inside joke.
Yeah, I could see that.
There has to be, and it's like just her and her husband, and they laugh about it and just troll the internet of all these videos talking about it. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah, nothing else would.
Yeah. Don't know what else to say to that.
Yeah. All in all, what did you think of the series?
I liked it. It's good. It's not, I don't think it's her best. I don't think it's her worst, but it was good and it was worth reading, and I reread some of them this week, just prepping. So yeah, all in all, good book, good writing. Again, easy to follow writing style, powerful stories, messages, emotions. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, same. I loved them, and I like the kind of dual point of view for Hopeless and Losing Hope. Like you said, I think it was a little more important in this scenario because it gives you insight into how he was feeling dealing with his sister, and like having the hope that maybe this is her, maybe it's not. no, I don't want it to be, because then it would turn her life upside down again. Him like helping her through it, like helping her go to her dad's house and confront him. Like you said, that's really just mature for 17, 18-year-olds. Not super realistic, but also teenagers have to go through a lot of stuff sometimes. And I mean, I've seen it with my friends and their kids, and I'm just like, whew, it is rough being a teenager. I would not go back for anything. Especially not now, because of all of social media and all the just bullshit that kids have to deal with.
The most I had to deal with was, oh my gosh, you took me off your top friends again?
I think that was the worst of it.
What little coding we were going to do to change our favorite song on our MySpace page.
Yeah. Like,
we were coding back in the day.
Yeah. With no business doing it. Like, we had no clue how or what we were even doing. But the fact that I don't know how to do anything now to code, I'm just like, what the hell?
I'm trying to put my website together for my business, and I see the coding and I'm like, damn, I used to make my background Victoria's Secret and play Kiss Me Through the Phone when you went to my profile.
Yep.
And now I can't even upload a picture to a product. What is wrong with me?
Yeah. The struggle. That's when I feel like a boomer.
I know. I literally say that I'm a boomer all the time when it comes to the website. Mm-hmm. Because, especially Amazon, you don't even want to get me started. Maybe we should save that for the bonus content. If you guys want to see unhinged Loren, talk to me about being a business owner on Amazon. And you get some entertainment. But anyways, being a teenager is not fun. Moral of the story. And you could not pay me to go back to being a teenager.
2024. That's for sure.
I'll be a 20-something forever. That's what I want.
All right. Well, I guess that is it for the Hopeless series. Come back next week. What are we covering then? I don't have my phone. I just dropped it. So.
Oh, that's what that loud clunk was.
Yep. That was my phone falling.
I heard it and kind of giggled. And I was like, is that the microphone or what was that? Next week, we are doing Slammed and Confessed.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
I like it.
I'll leave my thoughts till the episode.
Yeah. So come back next week for that, as we continue our CoHo extravaganza, counting down to It Ends With Us movie coming out in August. Be sure to follow our socials: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Open booked on all of them.
We don't have LinkedIn, so don't go there, even though she likes to say that.
Yeah, no. Sign up for the giveaway, and I think that's it. We will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.